One day, Thomas was running to the sheds after finishing a branch line run. He turned around and slowly began to return to the sheds. But when he got to the sheds, he saw something he didn't expect. He saw a whole bunch of versions of himself at the sheds. Oh, hello, Thomas. We were expecting to see you here. Welcome to the Thomas Reunion, where a bunch of Thomases like us gather to hang out. Now, allow us to introduce ourselves. I'm Beta Thomas, and that there's supposed to be 2022 Thomas, but due to his inability to move, he's stuck. Anyways, that's Pilot Thomas, Warp Scale Thomas, and one Thomas, but on a flatbed due to his movement issues. Soon, Thomas began to like this reunion. He got to know more about his other versions. And he felt a bit surprised too, because he didn't know that he had this many versions of himself. Say, now that we're all here, why don't we discuss the versions of Thomas that didn't get to be here? Broomstick Thomas, the first Thomas ever made. Unfortunately, he got lost. RWS Thomas, one of the older Thomases in the group. But unfortunately, no one knows what happened to him. Tom Moss, a prankster who liked to hide, but was soon caught and contained. Let's go Thomas, pure trouble. 50 Thomas, a kind and humble engine, but got soon lost. Audrey Thomas, otherwise known as the ghost who haunted you that one night, but no one knows what happened to him either. Take Along Thomas, made the engine who worked for Sonar Learning Curve go, but when that line got abandoned and taken down, he was placed on a mountain for engines to see. And that is the Thomas for the other engines. So, if you add that number to the current of us right now, that makes... well, too much for me to count anyway. Say, I was wondering, even though Timothy is dead, where is he? Well, some say he went to heaven, but others say he's in a different realm. Who are you? Why, I'm Thomas. Can't you see by my 6 small wheels? My short stumpy funnel? My short stumpy boiler? My short stumpy dome?
Now, this is my new favorite weapon. You are dead.
Yeah, cool.
Oh no.
But leave! This is our reunion! Fine, you can stay, but only because you participate in Day Out with Thomas events. Yay!
Metagaming. Earlier we
The engines had to deal with some pranks. The other engines were sleeping at Tinmouth sheds. The next morning, Thomas was heading into the yards to shunt. But when he got to the yards, he saw something unexpected. Some other versions of himself shunting at the yards for him. Don't you tell the others of what you see here. Sure then. So he went away to go shunt in another part of the yards. That noon, he was waiting in the Everett station. Percy usually took his mail train first, but he hadn't came yet. When will Percy arrive? I don't want it to be late. But then, he saw something. Wait, what the? Who are you? You're not Percy. Why? Yes I am. I am Percy. Can't you tell by I'm your best friend? Me pulling the mail? And my paint being green? That only proves that I am your best friend, Thomas. Don't be so foolish. Well, I better be off to pull my mail right now. See ya! Thomas had begun to think of something. He had began seeing other versions of himself since yesterday, and he had seen other versions of himself doing jobs in the yards. One even feeling like for Percy. He was thinking of getting to the bottom of the plan this night. Once the sun was setting, Thomas was heading to the sheds to take a rest. What the? We are the Eaters. We kidnapped every engine except Percy. And we also are cool. If you want to be cool too, then put on sunglasses. Whoa, Thomas. Why don't you join us? You seem like the perfect member for us, considering you're the real number one. No, I won't. Why did you kidnap every engine except Percy? We did it out of spite. Nothing much to it. Thomas was too scared to say anything. Thomas, you really should join us. You could be our leader. Think about it. Wait, what happened to the other versions of myself that were here yesterday? We just forced them to move out of the sheds to go somewhere else. No harm. Thomas was too scared to say anything else. He didn't want to be part of the cult. So, he retreated back to some other sheds, scared out of his mind. Back at the sheds, Thomas was even more worried about the twos. He was afraid that the versions of himself were going to take over the railway at some point. How many versions of myself are there now? I mean, there must be a lot. How many other versions could there be? I've got to get to the bottom of this. But Thomas wouldn't let cowardness hold him back. Instead, he left the sheds, searching for a clue on how the Thomases were coming. But soon, he found the reason of how Thomases were coming into the world. Thomas was surprised to find this, but then he soon got an idea. Halt! Reverse. Thomas felt satisfied and puffed off to deal with the other Thomases. Hey, other Thomases, I have an idea for where we could hold this meeting. Thomas, I don't think this is a good place to hold a cult. There aren't any engines to hold hostage. Oh, you don't worry. There will be engines. Engines that won't be here anymore. Well, they better be here soon. Otherwise, we'll go there by ourselves. Whoa, you want to go there by yourself, eh? Well, allow me to help you get there faster. What's the wrong name? Hey, this is your host, Thomas! Well, that takes care of them, said Thomas as he puffed away to go deal with the engines that were trapped by the E2s. The next morning, only a few Thomases were left. Well, now that all those E2s are gone, and you guys are left, I guess this is one final goodbye. Well, it is, but you're up. I don't know if you'll see us eventually, but at least you got to see us. Well, I guess that means something, and it does. And with that, Thomas said goodbye and puffed off to go do shunting in the yards. Thomas had to say goodbye to his other friends eventually, but he did learn and get a few things, their history, and some more motivation. It was a few days after Thomas had seen many versions of himself. He had gotten over it, but still had a bad feeling. As he approached the station, he saw a freight train. But who was pulling the freight train was not who he expected to be. It was Timothy, but now he had no number and a wolf's face. Timothy? I thought you fell off the viaduct.
Well, he did. But eventually, some people decided to reincarnate him. However, During the reincarnation, a rabid wolf broke into the room, and Timothy and the wolf fused, causing the wolf face and noises.
A tank engine with a wolf face? Oh, what's that gonna do? Now what's next? A tank engine with a cat face? Okay, okay, well behave. Okay, okay, we're sorry for growling at you. Sorry. Wow, I guess that's one way to keep those trucks in order. Thomas was happy to see Timothy alive again, but he had mixed feelings about him. On one hand, he was happy to see him, but on the other hand, he felt a bit concerned now that he was an engine and wolf mix. As he went down the line, Thomas began to imagine an alternate version of Timothy's crash. The impact of the crash did cause some passengers to get injured, even his driver and firemen. This line had been abandoned for years, and no one bothered to check it, even if an accident like this had happened. The coaches were soon hauled away, but the coupling had snapped between Timothy and the coaches, but the door was already closed. For years, Timothy was locked away in the shed. The driver and fireman were knocked out from the force of the crash, but so they weren't seen again. And Timothy was soon rescued and was taken to somewhere to be reincarnated. In Thomas's mind, this version made more sense to him. For a while, Timothy was used as an engine in Japan. next day, Thomas was taking a freight train down the line. Soon, he saw an express train at the signal with a passenger train. The tram engine didn't have a face, and it was with Timothy. Toby, what happened to you? You don't have a number.
Oh, this isn't Toby. This is a tram engine that Timothy met in Japan. They've become friends since then.
Thomas felt better now that Timothy was back, and he had another friend with him, but he had to continue on with this journey. He didn't know if he learned a lesson today, but if he did, I guess it would be, sometimes when something happens to a person, you just have to get up and deal with it. After shifting the yards at Olstead for a while, Thomas was heading back to the sheds. However, Thomas took a little detour and found something unexpected. It was an old boarded-up mine. It hasn't been used in years. Thomas was unsure. He wanted to enter the mine, but he wanted to go back into the sheds. Curiosity got the better of Thomas as he ventured into the mine. When Thomas got into the mine, he found that it wasn't an average mine. In fact, it was a roller coaster, and Thomas quickly started having fun on it. However, the rails were old and worn out and creaky, and Thomas didn't know about this. As Thomas went around the curve, the rails started to creak. Then Thomas flew off a curve and fallen into the mine. Thomas looked around, shocked. He was now trapped in a mine that hasn't been used in over a few years. Thomas now felt worried. He was trapped in a mine with no way out. Meanwhile, the back of Timothy's sheds, some of the others were discussing random stuff. Percy began to worry a little. Thomas had usually arrived back in the sheds by now. He tried to tell the other engines, but James just rolled his eyes. He's probably doing the night train or something, he said, unamused. Percy didn't want to disturb the other engines' conversations. Edward wasn't at the other sheds either, so he couldn't talk to him about it. Meanwhile, Thomas was trapped in the mine still. He was worried that he could fall off the edge. Water lay beside the platform that Thomas was standing on. Well, might as well have to deal with it, Thomas said nervously. The next morning, Percy began to feel a bit more worried. He didn't feel like disturbing the other engines awake, so he went out of the sheds to go search for Thomas. Edward was waiting at Marin when Percy pulled up to him. Hey, Edward, have you seen Thomas anywhere? I haven't seen him. Well, I do know that he did go near Olstead to shunt yesterday. Of course, Olstead. That's where he must be. However, um, do you know if he got lost anywhere? Hopefully not. I feel like you should go check just in case. Thank you for the information, Edward. So, Percy puffed off to Olstead to go check on Thomas. Percy eventually got near Olstead, but he went the wrong way, and probably in a good way, because he found something unexpected. An entrance to a mine, which was covered by a waterfall. Percy decided to go in anyway. Whoa, I did not get this. Hello? Is anyone in here? Wait, Percy? Is that you? Thomas blew his whistle long and loud, hoping Percy would hear it. Wait, Thomas, it is you! What are you doing here in this mine? Well, I got a bit too curious. I went on this abandoned coaster and had a little too much fun, I guess, as I went off a curve and derailed. Well, don't worry, Thomas. I'll go find help. And so he did. Thomas was soon run out of the mine, with the breakdown train being a bit of a tedious process. So, Thomas, how does it feel to be out of that coaster? Well, to be honest, I feel a bit foolish. The mine was abandoned, and the rails did creak. Percy thought of an engine to take over Thomas's job while he was in the works. Hopefully Thomas has learned his lesson. I hope he doesn't get into an accident like this again. Do you? One day, Thomas was heading down an Everett station in the wintry season. It's a good thing you're wearing your snowball this time, Thomas. Thomas agreed on this, remembering the time he was going down his branch line and went through a tunnel, thinking how clever he was, but got stuck in a snowbank due to not wearing a snowblower. But as he got to the Everett station, he heard a faint puffing sound in the distance. And soon, came 9462 into Everett station. Oh, hello, Thomas. Remember me? Not really, Thomas thought. Well, that's because you may not have seen me that much when the railway was in its early years. I was one of the first engines loaned on the railway, but I was soon sent back for being naughty. But here I am now, put on trial. The thing that 9462 mentioned made Thomas get a bit of flashbacks when he was the railways in his early years. He saw him a couple times, but that was because he was the station pilot back then. Say, after all the years I've been in the VR, I've seen a couple of people with some merchandise of you, and I've also seen a couple of videos about your fan base. However, I don't know if there's much of me in that fan base. I mean, all I am is pretty much a killer that tries to blow up Everett sheds or something like that. Well, don't get too salty. At least you have those B-16 figurines. That is your basis, right? Thomas said nervously. Well, I guess you're right. But enough of that. I have to go on a freight train soon. See ya, he said as he left the station. See ya, Thomas said. What a nice engine. Maybe he has changed his ways. But he didn't know for sure. As they went down the line, Eddie and Clarabelle began to feel a bit suspicious. Thomas, don't you feel a bit suspicious of 9462? Not really. Why? Well, when he saw you at Everett Station, don't you think he was talking to you a bit weird, almost suspiciously? Well, not really. I think he was happy just to see me again after all those years of him being on the railway. After all, he does have some merchandise, the B-16 model trains. Annie and Clarabelle whispered to each other as Thomas continued to go down the branch line. You know what, Thomas? Keep us in the siding, so that way we'll be able to keep an eye out on him. Alright, Thomas said. Thomas? Yes, sir? You are to pull a freight train in a few minutes. You just shunt it, and then just pull it down the line. It's as simple as that. Fin base. A big fin base. I've been in it, but I'm pretty much a killer. Oh, hello you two. You must be Thomas's coaches. Yes, we are. But we have a question. Why? Why did you talk to Thomas that way at Everett Station? What do you mean by that way? I was just happy to see him again after all of those years being on the BR. Gentleman did decide to put me on a trial at every way. Well, after that, we have been suspecting of you of being suspicious, or acting suspicious. Why do you accuse me of being suspicious? I just had a happy little talk with Thomas, but I may have thought him a little bit weird, but that may be just my personality. And, not to mention, all of the things that I have done to this railway in the past. Well, freight train's almost set up. Wait a minute. I hear something. For a meeting, let me do this perfectly. Hey, wait a minute. You know what? Let's say we go for a stroll down the line. Yeah, what's going on over... Wait, 9462? Hey, what are you doing with my couches? Crap, Jesus, let's go. You get back in with my couches. Face it, Thomas, I'm just a little faster than you, and you can't catch up. Oh, look what the cat dragged in. What are you chasing me for? What makes you think that you can just steal my couches after them accusing you of being suspicious? I wasn't. I was just having a little talk with you. I'll show him. 9462 hit a bump on the line, causing him to go at low speeds. Change the points! Someone is down at my couches! Oh, you stopped. Bad decision. Because if you stop, then you won't have enough speed to... No, wait, stop! Ow! Thomas, that I should have known. Why did you crash me into this siding? No one steals my coaches, and no one gets away with it either. Well, as you told me earlier, your coaches accused me of being suspicious, and so I stole them because they accused me of being suspicious, when in reality, I had a nice little talk with you about your fan base and merchandise. Well, that doesn't stop the fact that we heard you talk to Thomas a bit weirdly at Nafford when he saw you again. I heard talking when I was shunting my freight train, and I was wondering who it was. I did see something blue next to my coaches. Just then, Sir Elton Pat came up to the argument. Well, 9462, I agreed to put you on trial, and I turn my back on you for a few minutes, and then you do this. I have thought of the things that you have done in the past, and thought that you may have changed your ways, but instead, you're still Thomas' coaches, after acting suspicious towards them. You know what? After the trouble you've caused out this railway throughout the years, I think your judges might have to scrap you. You, sir, would dare! Well, I may dare, 9462. I may dare. I might just have to after all of the trouble you've caused throughout this railway. And 9462 had learned this lesson. So the lesson for today, don't get too jealous over something, or else it might go to your head and you may end up in a bad situation. Thomas has run this branch line for many years. He knows all the main parts of it. However, there's been something that's been bothering him for the past few days. An old abandoned line that's been unused for years. He's tried to see what was on this line before, but he couldn't due to the unset points, which couldn't be switched. But when he was leaving from Hagenbeck, he found something peculiar. A green van that was derailed and covered in foliage. Well, that's strange, Thomas said as he continued down the line. Thomas, now curious, wanted to see what else would happen. The next day, Thomas was shunting in the yards, when he had to wait for an engine to pass by. Soon, Percy passed by, but as he went by, Thomas noticed something. He was pulling the same train he saw at Magenbeck. Percy, stop! I want to tell you something! But Percy was too far away to hear Thomas. Thomas had to wait for him to pass by anyway. Later, Thomas had finished shunting at Farquhar. He got a look at the things he shunted before he set off. Thomas soon set off from Farquhar, but he soon came back to something unexpected and a bit chaotic. Now I know an engine is going down this line. No other engine is going down this line today. Not even Brasserie Toby. I don't think Mom and Ben would do it, even though they are, like, chaotic. Thomas grew even more frustrated at this, and thought of a plan. That night, Thomas's plan begun. He stayed in the front of the shed, waiting to see if an engine would pass by. However, as time went on, Thomas began to grow a bit tired, and soon enough, he fell asleep. But soon after this happened, who's there? Okay, I've caught a glimpse of the engine. Now to talk to the others about it. And so he did at Elsbridge. Percy, earlier today I saw you carrying a train of vans, and one of those trains was a van I saw earlier. It was green and covered in bushes, sort of like an old van. You know, I did see a green van in my train today, but I didn't bother to question it. I just thought it was like a costume or something. And I thought of something else. Why would a green van just be rolling around like that? I don't know why they would just not clean it before using it. Now, but what if it belongs to someone? Yeah, I see what you... Thomas, behind you! Huh? There's nothing there. Is this some kind of a joke? No, I'm serious. I saw something beside you. Oh, well, you better not be joking, because I don't want to have to deal with this stuff tonight. I feel like kind of stressed. Thomas, beside you again. Where? Stop bringing me, Rosé. I'm trying to find out where this engine is, and I can't do it with you just pranking me. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to get some well-needed sleep, so don't disturb me. The next morning, Thomas was going to give it one last shot to find whatever was disturbing him. If he wasn't gonna find whatever it was this time, then he was gonna give up on the whole thing. Okay, if I don't find whatever this thing is, then I will just give up on this whole thing. Hey, wait a minute. Hey, you! Uh-oh! Oh, no you don't. Back here! Get off me! I will stop until I find the answer. A burst safety valve. Just what I needed. That'll buy me some time. Finally, I've caught up to you. Now, what do you have to say for yourself? Okay, you got me. My name is Tom Moss. I'm the engine who crashed your trucks at Farquhar. And yeah, that was my van who you saw at Hackenbeck. Well, what about last night? Well, I'm a bit of a prankster. I was rushing past the shed last night, and I was the engine that Rosie was warning you about. I escaped containment, but I guess I'm caught now. But that pretty much explains it. That's all I needed to hear. Now let's get you revealed. And so we did. Soon enough, Tom Moss was put back on the rails and put back into containment. But as for his van, it wasn't actually his van, and it was soon mended and repainted back into its original paintwork and livery. So now, when Thomas goes on his branch line and passes the old line, he sometimes thinks of Tom Moss, although very few engines know of his existence, and probably for a good reason, as all of them agree that imposters should not be on the railway, even if they're here to help out.